Some people think that I own a gym and it's just really easy because you own a gym. But there's a lot of stuff that I do all day long that doesn't make it that easy. It's like having a job and still going to the gym. So what I want to do is dive into the thing that's number one right now, which is going to start at a starting point. And that's using this progress tracker to get my goals crystal clear, to know exactly where I am so I can track my progress along the way, and to look for momentum. If you remember in the last one, we talked about there's one, having crystal clear goal or that end goal in mind. When you have a strong desire of what you want and why you want it so much, you'll start to attract anything that's going to support that. And number two was, you got to have a way to track your progress. So if you remember, I showed you the photos of my before and afters and stuff like that. That was to see the changes going along the way, so it made me more motivated. See, movement or motion creates motivation. That's the key behind it. And then number three is to be held accountable. So by filling this out, and if I go through and look at it and see your numbers and your results, it's holding you accountable. We're gonna dive into numbers 1 and 2 today because they're the most important thing, okay? So number one is, what are the results that you wanna accomplish? Well, I'm gonna talk about what mine are, what I wanna accomplish. So what I wanna do is I want to decrease my race time for the triathlon I did last year. I want to beat my time. Number two is I want to gain about 15 pounds of muscle mass by that time period. So that's looking at about July. And also decrease my body fat down to 9 to 10%, somewhere in there. So when I look at those things, why do I want those? Well, I'm going to give you guys a little quick look at my ultimate results I want to get to. But I broke it down to a little bit smaller system to make this more feasible for you guys to understand how this works, okay? So why do I want to decrease my triathlon time? Because I know I can do better. That's the first thing. Well, number one, I think that even if I did 2 or 3 weeks worth of training, I could beat the time I did last time, because last time I signed up the day before the race and just did it. I actually just said, screw it, signed up and did it the next day. The funny part about this whole thing was I've never swam 500 yards in my entire life. I jumped off a boat, swam back to the boat. I jumped off the side of a pool into the center and then swam back to the side of the pool, but never swam 500 yards. When I got there, I had no idea if I could even do it, but I did it. And I did my race in 1 hour and 38 minutes. And this year, I want to get down to about an hour. So I want to drop about 30 minutes off of that time and really kick butt, okay? So why is it that I want to do that? It's not that I want just to show that I can do a better time because I get time to train. It's because my ultimate goal that I want to get to is to be 90 years old and be fit and healthy, to have tons of energy, to be able to go out and do things with my kids and my grandkids at that point, and just be very full of life and energy and in good health. And that's my ultimate goal. So I know that by actually still setting this small short-term goal up until July of doing this triathlon, it's still going to help me, because if I'm getting better at that and I can run faster and get a faster time, then I know overall I'm improving in health when I get older, right? So 6 months from now, when I'm 6 months older, I'm actually in better shape, or I'm going to do better in this case, okay? And then number two is I want to gain more muscle mass. So I want to gain like 15 pounds, like I said, and be down 9 to 10% body fat. So the reason why I want that, again, is because I know if I gain more muscle mass, that's good, because as we get older, we start to lose muscle mass. So adding more right now, as much as I can right now, is important. And number two, if I get down to a lean body fat percent, I'm healthy. So again, going towards my ultimate goal of being like 90 years old and being healthy and fit, that aligns with that. So even though it's a shorter term goal, that's still going to align with it, because if I keep moving forward that way, I'm going to get results that way, okay? So the other thing to go along with that is, another reason why I want to do this is because I want to prove people wrong. People always think that you can't combine aerobic type training with a weight training and get good results. They think you got to pick either one or the other. You can't train both of them. And to me, that's not true. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you that I'm able to gain muscle mass and increase my aerobic capabilities to do the triathlon and do awesome at both of those when I get to the show. So my goal is to prove the system wrong. When I got certified with ISSA, they taught me the same thing. It's either do this or do that. I'm going to do both together and prove the system wrong, and that's one of my greatest motivational tools that I have. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do circumference measurements, where I'm going to measure these 3 areas. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is take my circumference measurements. Now, it's important to do this right. You got to make sure that your tape measure is level with the ground. So if it's tipping in the front, up in the back, or vice versa, it's not gonna work right. So it's always good to have someone do this with you. But for this purpose, I'm gonna do this on my own just because I've done this so many times. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take, I figure 2 inches below the belly button. I like to take about 3 fingers, place it here, and that's where my tape measure is gonna go, is right below those 3 fingers. And we're just gonna do a tape measure going around. So I bring it behind me like this here, come straight across in the front, and I wanna make sure it's level with the ground in this case, and it's not swooping down. So if I had it like down here like this, I gotta bring it up so it's level across just like that. So in this case right now, that's at a 35. So I'm gonna jot down 35. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do right at the belly button. So I'm going to take, same thing, right at the belly button. Again, make sure it's level, so I'm not swooping down on the sides again, right across. And I'm at about a 34. And then we're going to go 2 inches above. Again, same thing. Find the belly button right here. Going 3 fingers, so we're right at the top of that. So right here. And I'm at a 33.5. Okay, so that concludes that part of it. Now the next thing we're going to do is going to be a body fat test. So for the body fat testing, the first thing we want to do is get your weight. Now, I really highly recommend that you pick one scale and stick to it. I know when my daughter was born, we took her away at the hospital the day she was born, and then we weighed her again before she left, which babies normally drop some weight during that time period. And then the next day she was weighed at a doctor's office, and her weight was different than the day before. And then she was weighed later that day, which on a different scale, and the weight was different again. But within a week time span, we had weights that were all over the place because every scale is just different. They may be calibrated different, they're not calibrated correctly. So pick one scale and just stick with it. That's the ultimate key. I don't care really what your weight is. It's what's a transformation of the percent of body fat, how much muscle you have, and how much body fat you have. What are those changes? What's going on with it? So just take your weight on one scale and stick with that. Then you can take something like the Omron, or if you guys have a scale that's going to basically where you step on it with your bare feet and it tells your body fat, stuff like that. So I did mine, and mine is actually a little high right now. It's at 17.7%. And you're probably thinking like, wow, that's crazy. Like that's really high actually, because normally I'm around like 12%. There's fluctuation throughout the day. This is not the ideal time to do this because I just ate just a little bit ago. Matter of fact, if you look at this here, this is an example of fluctuation throughout the day. So this person here, in this case, started at 22%, and by after dinner, they're up to almost 24%, and then back down, and then up a little bit. The fluctuation throughout the day, though, is based on things that you have here. So on this chart right here, it says waking up, then they had breakfast, so it increased it. Lunch, kind of increased it some more. Then they went throughout the day, and then they had dinner, it increased it some more. They took a bath, it went up some more. And then it went down afterwards, and then as they go into bed, and it kind of teeter-tottered a little bit there. Your body fat's going to fluctuate throughout the day. So one of the best times to do it is like first thing in the morning if that's possible, or you want to take about 2 hours after a meal and then take it. Sometimes you may not have that availability, so try to take it at the same time every day if that's the case. But I'm going to tell you right now that if you eat dinner, say an hour ago, and you take it again the next day or the week later, an hour after dinner, it may be different based on the types of foods you had. You may have more sodium in there, more water content inside the foods. That's all going to throw it off just a little bit. So again, this is just a tool, and that's why pictures are really an ultimate tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down my weight on here, which was 172, and my body fat was 17.7 at this time period now. So I'm going to jot down basically what time of day it was, that I ate just an hour ago, and which Omron I used, because we have two different ones, and they could be just a tad different, so I'm going to stick with the white one in this case. So I got those wrote down. I actually put those right here next to my measurements for my belly button and the 2 above and 2 below circumference measurements. So I just wrote that right here, and I'm going to track it, okay? Also, what I recommend is like where it says day 1 right here, write down the date. So today's date is 1/10/22. That way you get an idea of a starting point, okay? All right, then the next thing we're going to do is, the final thing is going to be pictures. So what we're going to do is when my wife gets here to do boot camp today, I'm going to have her snap some pictures of me real quick, and then we'll put those in there as part of my journey so we have those on track.